Well, it's been 6 months since the CSU hired a firm to conduct an independent investigation into how former President Dr. Joseph Castro allegedly mishandled numerous allegations of inappropriate behavior of then VP of Student Affairs, Frank Lamas. The 10-page bombshell report released on Thursday. It claims Dr. Castro and the university did not properly investigate 9 misconduct reports from 2014 to 2019. That report also states best practices were not always followed. And following the allegations made, it also reported that Castro wrote 8 different letters of recommendation for Lamas, including 2 CSU presidency positions. It also said Castro failed to notify the chancellor or others involved of complaints against Lamas. Now, I have exchanged several text messages with Dr. Castro over the last few days. He says he will be ready to talk about this and open up next week on Sunday Morning Matters. But a lot to unpack here this week with our panel. We want to introduce Board President for the State Center Community College District and Committee Member for the Fresno County Democratic Party, Nazarene Johnson is here. And from Power Talk 96.7 and host of Right to Life, also CEO, John Girardi. So thank you both for being here. First and foremost, by the way, here's the report here. It's 10 pages, really thin. And I'm wondering from you guys, initial thoughts.
So it's really easy to have a fall person when something goes wrong, but I think that you know, you've read the complete 10 pages, and it's obvious that there are some policy gaps. And whenever you have so many issues, one person can't be. Obviously, it's not an effective policy if one person can.
Be pointed the finger at one person.
Exactly. I mean, lots of people knew about it, so obviously there are some changes that need to be made at the college.
And that was the one thing, and you're hinting towards that a little bit. I think I know what you're saying, is that with the firm that was hired by CSU, they failed to point out that CSU system had any wrongdoing in this.
Yeah, well, and it's sort of, I mean, a lot of the reporting on it almost makes it seem as though, you know, this is just human nature, one person protecting someone else, maybe this isn't repeatable. And the fact that how independent is the report, it does sort of make me wonder if there is more of a need for a more, you know, look at the systems and whether we can really trust this report as being truly independent.
How damaging, though, is this report to Dr. Castro?
I mean, it obviously, you know, points the finger at him, but I think that as somebody who represents colleges, I think that it has to go back to that there are obviously some policy gaps, and so I'm glad things like this come to light, because then it could be fixed.
Well, let me add this, because now comes the state audit, right? And that could be months until we see that. But if something turns up even more, does that really, I don't know, lack of a better word, I don't know, not trash it, but just kind of white it out almost like it never happened? If the state audit finds something even bigger?
Well, potentially. I mean, I don't know that this is going to rock the foundations of Fresno State. This whole thing seems fairly explicable in terms of human beings not wanting something to be a big deal and trying their best not to make something a big deal.
But it was a big deal. We had 9 complaints.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Of sexual misconduct or some kind of inappropriate behavior.
And look at the way we've changed from 2014 to 2022, how we handle sexual, you know, charges. I just think that, you know, looking at it through a 2022 lens, it's very different than looking at it from 2014.
I want to move on to this. AB 2183, the Farm Worker Voting Rights Bill signed by Newsom, where farm workers will now be able to vote remotely in union elections. There's more to it than that, but really that's the gist. Manuel Cunha of the Nisei Farmers League, the president, with a very strong message to Governor Newsom, basically saying, you know, should agriculture now strike because of this? And I'm wondering, what's your response to that? And did Newsom buckle under the pressure? President Biden said this should be signed when it appeared that it wasn't going to be signed by Newsom.
Well, I think that it's great when people are allowed to change their mind. Sometimes it might take somebody saying something a specific way or some new information that comes to light. I think all of us need to revisit our, thoughts and feelings about different things. I think it was the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm. You don't think President Biden helped change those feelings or thoughts?
When you have a cup of coffee with a friend and they give you their opinion on something, isn't your opinion shifted a little? Sometimes
Only if that
it is.
coffee is with the President of the United
Right?
States.
I'd have to think President Biden's words probably had some influence, but it is also, frankly, I don't believe Governor Newsom when he says he doesn't want to be president. He already has some problems, I think, with the Bernie Sanders wing of the party, given how he's kind of kicked the can down the road with universal health care. So to be vetoing a very popular with the left farm labor bill would probably not be a great look for Governor Newsom if he has any ambitions beyond California, which frankly he's running ads in Florida. I find it hard to believe he doesn't.
There was a deadline. Governor Newsom had to sign 500 bills this last week, and a lot of that was the abortion bills that he signed into law, 13 of them, a direct response to SCOTUS's reversal of Roe v. Wade. We want to show you the one tweet from Valley Assemblywoman Anna Caballero where her legislation was signed, SB 1142, and that bill really sets aside $20 million of the state's budget, taxpayer money, to pay for travel, costs, meals, lodging for those who will have the procedure done in California. Now, it's limited to California residents. Out-of-state women can apply for a state grant, but is it wrong to fund an abortion with taxpayer money?
Absolutely not. Abortion is a human right, and it is important to women's health care. If we can't have control over what's happening to our bodies, that means we don't actually have equality. I don't get if I don't get a say with what happens to my reproductive system, then that means that I'm financially impacted, my trajectory in life is changed, my education, everything about my life is now tethered to something that women are losing control over, and that's not equality.
Yeah, well, I don't think even a majority of Californians necessarily support. Probably a majority of Californians are pro-choice, but I don't know that a majority of them would support grants to people who don't even live in California to fly to California, lodge in California, to make California, as Governor Newsom has said, a sanctuary state for abortion. Especially, we have such enormous gaps in the San Joaquin Valley. St. Agnes Medical Center has said, Valley Children has said, that lack of access to prenatal care, services before giving birth, that is the critical need here in the San Joaquin Valley, and those needs aren't being met. There's huge percentages of women in the San Joaquin Valley don't get any prenatal care before they deliver. So to be paying for people and putting up billboards in Oklahoma telling women to come to California for abortions, and meanwhile almost 25% of women in South Fresno don't get prenatal care before they deliver, I think that's wrong.
If Canada had a human rights violation, I would imagine that we would open our border and allow a whole segment of the community to come into our world, into our state, and get the service, the health care that they need if they were being denied it.
Well, it's very controversial. We're always short on time, but guess what? It's a conversation that we'll continue to have here. John Girardi, Nazarene Johnson, thank you both for being here. I appreciate it.